Hello, folks. This is 8Tech, and we got another Commander review for you. We are looking at C21. I got with me the good, the bad, and sometimes he's ugly. His name is Jake Dill. You guys remember him from our last video. We're going to be going through the Commander 21 top 10 picks. Jake, before we get into this, I just want to let you know, gyms have opened back up in LA, and that also means the pools have opened back up in LA. Now, my biggest problem is when I go swimming is I have problem counting laps. So,
I thought you were going to say taking your shirt off.
No, I have absolutely no problem taking my shirt off. You can ask any of our friends.
I do that shit at the mall, man. I take my shirt off at the mall.
I'm just gonna let you know. I'm gonna let you know. Ask Alex about beach days and how comfortable I am taking my shirt off. The thing that I always have from the gym is I always have problem counting laps. So the obvious thing is I need something to count laps. So I grabbed myself a spin down for my spin down dice.
You do not.
Aren't I clever?
At first, I thought when you meant a spin down, I thought you meant like those little token things that you can actually spin with your finger and not spin down dice.
Jake, we're talking about Magic. It's a spin down dice. It needs to be waterproof. Anyway, we have the top 10 Commander cards that Zach and Jake are going to be arguing about for the next half hour or so, otherwise known as our top 10 Commander 21 cards. Let's go ahead and we'll just start with the honorable mentions. This one, I love cooking. This guy's a master chef. He makes food. And whenever somebody else shows up, he makes some more food. And then sometimes when somebody else shows up, he makes some more food. And you know what? He makes some more food. So he sounds like my aunt. So I love this guy. He just makes food. And that's pretty much the only reason I like him. He just makes food. So I'm down.
So you like it just because you're a chef, or you actually like the mechanic?
The mechanics are fine. It's actually not a bad mechanic, but the I'm going to mean this. The card is literally on flavor. Pun intended. Anyway, I like it. It's fun. It's actually a useful card in the right situation. And if you ever want to build a food deck, this is your commander.
I don't know if a food deck as this guy is your commander. It's like you get a food token every time a creature comes in that's not a token. I mean, it doesn't seem very good.
It's not good, but if there is ever a food deck, this will be the commander. And something tells me food is not going away anytime soon, based on what WotC has put.
I don't know if it's not going away because it's not showing up. It's just not going to be a thing. No, you can run this. I would love if you ran this because that means you lose. It's fine. This is like a tier 3 at best.
No, it's not a good commander. It's just a fun commander. It's just literally a flavorful commander.
Well, how much fun are you having if you're constantly losing? Ask Nathan. It's not very much fun.
I guess Nathan. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next honorable mention. This is my serious honorable mention. This is InspiringRefrain. This is actually a decent card, I think.
Yeah, is this from? I didn't see this. Is this from the Is It deck?
I think so. Yeah, there are a bunch of people playing instruments and the.
Oh, it is because it's that blue.
Yeah, so I think the Prismari are all about playing instruments. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, this is the Is It deck, Prismari. Yeah. It's a recurring divination. How bad can that be? I mean, people don't play divination, but what if you were getting a divination every third turn? Is that bad?
I dig it, man. I dig the suspend thing, and then you do it and suspends again by itself.
Yep.
And then, does it just keep doing that every 3 turns?
Every 3 turns. Basically, exile InspiringRefrain with 3 time counters on it. So every time you cast this, you're going to exile it with 3 suspend counters on it. And it's just going to draw you 2 cards every 3 turns.
Yeah, I dig that, man. That could be really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. So I think this is a pretty good card. It's not amazing, but I think it definitely deserves an honorable mention because it's a good card.
Yeah, for sure, for as long as some Commander games go, and I don't know if it's just because of how many people are playing and how long each person takes for the turns, but it seems like we get a decent amount of turns, or you can get a decent amount of turns. So you should see this, 2, 3, maybe 4 times in a game.
That's what that's 4, 6, 8 cards. That's
Yeah,
not bad divination there. And
man, that's
considering
good.
you only have to sink 3 mana into it once just to keep seeing it over and over, I'm down, dude. I love this card. Unless someone
Yeah, I like it.
counters it, I don't know. Someone counters it, okay, fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a lot of counters running around in Commander, and it's usually for something that's gonna like affect the board state, and this
Who's
doesn't
gonna
really do
who's
that.
gonna burn a counter on this?
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, you might
I
just
would, I would, I would be
if you
the
like if you're
I would
hating
be
against,
conniving.
yeah, if you just hating against Zach, like, oh yeah, counter. But
Yeah,
normally, if you're playing for reals, you would just counter like what the bomb that you drew instead of countering
right. So I agree. Fun card, great card. I think this card should see play, and I'm not going to say it's going to go up a lot, but if it does, I mean, I'm thinking like, if Ristic Study is a good card, why isn't this? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good card. I dig it.
All right, let's go on
It's
to the
almost
next one.
it's almost good enough to make my Simic deck.
Yeah,
Almost, almost.
almost.
I think I have better draw, but it's almost good enough.
So let's go on to the top of our bottom picks. This is your card,
Oh, this card's sick.
Promise of Loyalty.
This card is super good. I don't know
This
who that whole can is supposed to be, but this card is super good. So it's almost like a better wrath. Each player puts a Val counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. Each of those creatures can attack you or planeswalkers you control for as long as it has a Val counter on it. So it's a better wrath. So like if you're playing against Alex and his indestructible sliver bullshit, it gets around that. Plus, he picks, I'm guessing his lord, and
yes.
it can attack you. None of them can attack you. Everybody's creature they pick can attack you, and you keep your dude too, whoever your biggest baddest dude is. So I think this card is awesome.
So what I think, okay, no, let's look at its cousins first. We got Slash the Ranks, and then we got Slaughter the Strong. So I think this is a great comparison.
I think
Um,
also another good comparison is that what's that like something about like agonizing or it's like it's like a card. It's a 5-drop, 2 white, and it makes you can pick which things to sack. Like everybody sacks like everything except for one of everything. Like they pick one creature, they sack it, or you pick one creature, they sack the rest. Agonizing remorse, maybe. What is it?
no, I think you're. I mean, like like a Cataclysm Gearhulk, essentially.
Yeah, but there's a
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about, but
what's it
yes.
called?
So Voltron decks, this is like an automatic include if you're in white.
Yeah,
And then the other one would be, I mean, basically, if you read this, everything with a Val counter has goad, but goad, they're allowed to attack you if you're the last player. They can't attack you if you're the last player.
yeah, man, it's dope. I
Yeah,
like this one a
this
lot.
is this is a good choice. I like this. It looks and it's easier to cast than Slash the Ranks, which is double white. This is only a single white. It's the same CMC. Sorry, mana value. We got to get used to saying that.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, I think it's like way better than Slash the Ranks just because of that destroy thing. And it seems like there's a lot of commander decks out there running indestructible creatures. So
Indestructible, hexproof.
yeah,
Alex. Alex.
yeah. So I think like this would be going in there like tragic of arrogance. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Possibly. I don't know.
Is the white card I'm thinking of where it's you pick and you sack, but I think this is even better than that. Because yeah, so like wipes the board pretty much, and then things that it doesn't wipe can't come at you, which is dope.
The Val counters, those Val counters are just, I mean, essentially it's a full-on board wipe because those creatures can't swing at you. You're making them swing.
It's better because those other ones that you leave are threats for the other players. So all those, every threat you leave has to attack someone else besides you. So it's like it's helping you even get close to winning.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's a good choice. All right, let's go on. This is my bottom of the top choices. Ink Shield. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you this turn. For each 1 damage prevented this way, create a 2/1 black and white inkling creature token with flying. This is bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks that it costs 5. Like,
yeah, it's 5 CMC.
How many times do you have 5 open mana? You know, like.
I mean, I keep 3 mana consistently open when I'm playing Teferi's Protection.
Uh-huh.
And I'm saying, you know, let's say you have, you know, 3 open, you just have a Soul Ring, then, you know, people tend to ignore the Soul Ring if it's untapped. Let's see. This is a fog, but is better because you're making 2/1s for each 1 damage. So it's an even better Arachnogenesis.
You know what else it's like? Let me see. I'm gonna hold this up and see if it will come through. Let's see.
Not really. No one's gonna see that. I can't even see that.
No. Okay. It's a card. If you can Google it, whoever's watching this, it's a card called Batwing Broom. It's 1 and 1 white or black, and it's an instant. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn if white was spent to cast Batwing Broom. Each player loses 1 life for each attacking creature he or she controls if black was spent to cast Batwing Broom. Do both if white and black was spent. And that only costs 2. So if you're running Orzhov, I would run Ink Shield and that card.
Yeah. Batwing Broom. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Biomass Mutation. Jake, explain yourself on this one.
Well, this comes in a new Simic deck that's coming out, and in that deck, it's built around, you know, tokens, like little weenie tokens. So if you ramping into, who knows, 10 mana, and you're swinging with all these 1/1s, all of a sudden, you know, at instant speed after someone, all this won't block, whatever, boom, they're all 8/8s. At instant speed, pretty sick.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I think this is a lot like Mirror Entity. It's basically, yeah. I mean,
I guess it can be, but then that's on the field, so
right.
People can see that you have the ability.
Yeah, you're telegraphing it.
Yeah.
But again, you're gonna make 8/8s out of this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ramping,
Ink Shield only leaves 5 mana up. You gotta have 10 mana up for this at instant speed.
Yes, but that's during my turn. So they might be thinking that, you know, after combat, I'm going to play some bomb or something. I haven't spent all my money at that turn. You're passing a turn with your mana up.
So my question is, why not just run Overrun or Overwhelming Stampede? I think Overwhelming Stampede is a better version of this.
Well, not if your tokens are 1/1s, where X is the greatest power among creatures.
But you only need one big thing.
I guess, but your one big thing I think in that deck is like Avengers Zendikar maybe. So that's 5. So the ability to go way past 5, I just think is better. And an instant speed. So it's kind of a trap. It's a trap. It's a combat trick. And combat tricks win games.
Okay. I get it. I'm still a little confused. Hence the question mark. But I follow you. I'm just not a huge fan. I get where you're coming from.
Get on board, man, because this is how you win games.
I'll get on board. All right. Let's go on to my pick. Felicia, Fang of Civil Quarrel. This is just a good vampire. Edgar Markov, you can even have this as your commander, and it would actually be a decent, I mean, honestly, this is a decent commander just by itself.
All right, let's read it. Flying Mentor. Whenever this creature attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 black and white Inkling creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of counters it had on it.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed that happened with Strixhaven and C21 is that there is a lot of +1 counter synergy now for black and white. Usually that was only a green thing and sometimes touching into white with some stuff. Now we have a +1 counter theme for black and white, and it's pretty well supported just in the last 2 sets.
Yeah, you know what would go well with this is, I think we might have put it on the last video we did, is that new Strixhaven enchantment, the white one, which is it's a 3-drop, and every time a creature attacks, you could put a 1/1 counter on it, and
Yeah.
I think it gets vigilance maybe even to the end of turn.
Yeah.
I think that card's really good and synergizes well with this.
Yeah, that they're I mean, they're definitely going in the same deck. I mean, they tend to print stuff that synergizes well with itself, both in the commander releases and the draft set when they come out around the same time. So I'm not at all surprised. And I mean, just think about it. The black and white Elder Dragon puts +1 counters on stuff. The Deans put +1 counters on stuff.
I recently got that in a sealed or a draft. And at first when I read it, I was just like, I don't like this because I had to give my opponent like a thing.
Yeah.
You know, you have to pick separate. I'm like, I don't want to give him any of these things.
Right.
But that card, straight up, I mean, of course, this is sealed and limited, so it's better. Yeah. It is in constructed, but that thing is, I mean, that wins games because I am putting counters on my dudes. I know what's funny. I'm usually letting my opponent draw because it drains them and it just gets them closer to death. And my guys are just getting huge and I'm flying in the air. So
that's interesting because that would be like the last thing you would usually want to do in a game of Commander, but you're using that defensively in like a constructed format.
Yeah, and because I don't want to give them a blocker because it makes like a flyer, and I don't want to, unless they don't have any creatures, I don't want to give them counters either. Usually I want to give my own guy counters because he has double strike and flying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that new dragon is super good. Yeah, these cards that are coming out with this set really actually want to make me want to buy that new commander deck and make an Orzhov build.
Well, I bought all 5. So I'm just saying.
I bought the Simic one. That was it. I might buy the Orzhov one too now.
Well, I mean, obviously it goes with, I mean, Edgar Markov puts +1 counters on it. I'm putting this in my Edgar Markov deck without a question. This is just another Lord that gives you, board wipe protection. I'm totally down. I like this card. It's going in that deck. All right. Next one, Jake. Try to explain this to me in as few words as possible because it's oversimplified.
Good.
That's good. That very good, Jake.
Thank you. This is a card that I think it comes in that Simic deck again, obviously, but in that deck where you're making tokens, you're making a bunch of weenies, and maybe some other guys are looking for bombs. This kind of makes it way better in your favor. The more creatures you have, the bigger guy you're going to get. Exile all creatures. Each player creates a 0/0 green-blue fractal creature token and puts a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the total power of creatures they control that were exiled this way. So usually, if you have a bunch of dudes, you're going to have the bigger fractal. So there are some times where this could backfire, but even so, like again, when we're talking about with indestructible or hexproof or whatever, it gets around all that. So, you know, unless Alex with his slivers deck again, I keep bringing that up because I hate it.
Let me just pause for a second. Our friend Alex likes to play a lot of decks that lock you out from doing stuff. Stacks, tax, I don't know, like stuff like that. I'm trying to explain to Alex that slivers is just stacks on creatures, and he doesn't understand that. It's the same thing.
Yeah, man, it's like his it's like his personality. Yeah. This is what he does.
You don't get to play Magic. Only I get to play Magic. But
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
I just have a bunch of indestructible stuff now because of that.
So
Jake, I love this card.
Yeah, unless he has that sliver where he can like bounce guys back to his hands by paying whatever. It's like, all right, done, boom, and you get whatever, a dude, and your dude is going to be a lot easier to deal with than a bunch of indestructible slivers with who knows how many different powers.
So, I actually agree with you on this card. I love this card. I run Curse of Swine just for the exile effect. I don't care that I'm giving my opponents.
That card comes in this deck too, I think.
Yeah, it does. The thing about the Simic deck is it's not making, you keep saying weenies. It's making huge fractals usually when you're playing that deck. And some of those fractals are meant to come on the board with, 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 counters on them if you cast them right. If you're exiling all those giant fractals, like even if they're 3/3s and you have a bunch of 3/3s that you're exiling that way, you're going to put this in your Coma deck. You're going to have a bunch of Coma Spoils that you're going to exile, and you're going to have a huge fractal after this. Jake, I agree. This is a great card.
Yeah,
I like this card.
It might go in the build, it might not, but it's on the cusp because I do like this being. Yeah, I like being able to control the board. If I get behind.
Yeah, like I said last video, Jake only plays bombs and removal. That's literally all he plays. Bombs, removal, bombs, removal.
I like playing cards that affect the board state.
Yes.
If you're not playing a card that affects the board state, why is that card in your deck?
Because it's fun.
I think cards that affect the board state are fun.
Okay. Anyway, so great card. I love this card. Definitely. I mean, let's put it like this, Jake. This is a board wipe in green and blue. Worst case scenario, giving your opponents a creature token, and we all know something blue's really good at doing is bouncing stuff. So eventually you're going to get rid of that problem anyway. Even if they end up having one of the bigger things on the board. I play a lot of bounce removal in my Niv deck.
So you oversimplify and then unsummon.
Yeah. Why not?
Give your opponent, like, let's say he's given some massive 15/15 because he's had that many creatures, and unsummon.
Bye. Unsummon. 1 mana, done. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one. I had to include this, Jake. I'm sorry. I know everyone's talking about this card. It's Monologue Tax. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, you create a treasure token. It's a good card for white.
Not as good as what's the other card, that white card? There you go, Smothering Tide. Not as good as that, obviously, but obviously
it's not as good, but
the same.
Who's not going to cast their second card in a turn?
It's cheaper and in numerous ways. It costs less, and it's not whatever it is, $30 now.
Right.
Whatever Smothering Tide is. This comes with the deck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think this card is good. It helps you ramp, and it's not like a May. You just get it.
No, I like it. I like it. I had to put it in there because everyone's talking about it. It's not Smothering Tide. It's still a good card. It's much needed ramp in white. We do not see that a lot. I'm watching videos of people playing these new cards, and this card does work. It doesn't do as much as Smothering Tide, but it still does work. You run them both. I don't see why you're not going to be ramping ridiculous amounts in white. If you're mono white and you run both of these, you are going to probably have 7 mana by the time the whole table goes around. I honestly think that's how good it is, especially in conjunction with its bigger brother. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. Jake, what is this card?
This card is Guardian Augmenter. Flash, commander creatures you control get +2/+2. Commanders you control have hexproof. So the first thing that makes this guy good is Flash. So it's a combat trick. So maybe your commander.
I just saw that. Oh my God. I did not even read the whole. I was so focused on the +2/+2 and the hexproof. I completely missed the Flash.
Yeah, the Flash is the key for this. So, you could do it in response to, let's say you're playing that vampires deck, right?
Yeah.
And you have Captivating Vampire and you're trying to steal my coma. In response, go fuck yourself.
Flash.
He has hexproof. So that's one thing that coma is susceptible to is you stealing it or exile. This guy, gets around that. So it's a heroic intervention with a body and a +2/+2.
I saw this and I thought Slippery Bogwander, Flash with hexproof, essentially kind of the same thing. I can't believe I missed the Flash on that as well, but I did pretty damn well picking that by accident. And then Bastion Protector, there's a ton of these effects. Your commanders get +2/+2. Okay. That's just candy. You're playing it for the Flash. You're playing it for the hexproof. I would play this just for the hexproof. I didn't even see the Flash until you brought this up to me.
Yeah, so maybe you're swinging in with whatever, and some guy thinks he's going to trade with your commander, and in response, Flash +2/+2.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good, and look at that. It's a mana cheaper than Slippery Bogwander.
And but I like the art better for Slippery Bogwander.
It's got the bogle on there.
That's great. I love it. He's so sad.
He's so sad.
Help me, please.
He's so sad. He's got I'm touching you now. You have hexproof like I do. All right, let's move on to the next one. Rion. I don't know how to say her name. Rihanna.
Yes,
Rihanna. Okay, so Rihanna here, the fire dancer. Number one, she's a dancer, so obviously I'm gonna like her. And she's red, so I'm gonna like her even more. But let's actually read the card. At the beginning of your combat, create X tokens that are copies of another creature you control, where X is 1 plus the number of instants and sorceries you've cast this turn. They gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step.
I could do work.
Yeah, it'll do work. You know what deck I'm putting this in.
I don't know. What's your red deck?
Oh, come on. Anyway, this reminds, we'll get to it. Valduk. This reminds me a lot of Valduk. Those number of instants and sorceries you've cast this turn. Number of, equipment and auras on them. It's about the same. And then also reminded me of, Tinanali Summoners. Create a bunch of 1/1 red elemental creatures. Okay. Good cards. They do the exact same thing. A little cheaper, but this is a commander.
Yeah, but this is these are things that you actually need to have other things on the battlefield or had to pay for to make them work. This thing is at least one. So you don't even have to pay, if you don't even have an instant, you're still getting a token of something, like your biggest bomb. So that's pretty sick.
So this is obviously, if I'm going to put this in a deck, it's going into Zada. This is 100% going into my Zada deck, because what you're going to do is you're going to copy those instants and sorceries, go into another combat step if you're lucky with Zada, and then you get to really have some fun if you're going to second combat step, because you're getting all those tokens, and they're going to be some, even if you're copying goblins. Yeah, this is quite disgusting in a Zada deck.
Yeah, so I'm guessing like when you cast an instant or sorcery, you can copy it. So are you, does copy mean cast?
No, you're not copying it, but what usually happens with a Zada deck is you're playing a bunch of cantrips that target Zada. So target creature can't block, target creature has haste, target creature is red, and something, and they all have the text draw a card at the end. So you copy this for all your creature tokens, and then you have something like what's that? The guy from Amonkhet that gives you a second combat step when you exert. That
okay.
Yeah, and you do some
or you have
serious,
like World at War or something.
Yeah, so there are a ton of extra combat red spells. That's what this is going to do. This is going to be an alpha strike ×2, because this is your finisher, along with along with Zada. I mean, it's Magical Christmas Land. If you're getting all three out, was I keep forgetting the drum. He has a drum. When he goes into combat, he's a 4/1. You know what I mean? But you get the idea. This is going to give you even more tokens to copy Zada's ability on, and it's disgusting. You're going to be drawing an insane amount of cards.
But the tokens, but you're only making X tokens for as many sorceries or an instance you've cast that turn.
So you're going to cast all your sorceries, and then you're going to move to combat, and you're going to cast all your instants, and that's what you tend to do. So you're going to create X tokens during your when you go into combat, and it's going to be ridiculous. You're going to drive in.
You're going to have to cast all those instants and sorceries before combat, correct?
Not all. No, that's what I'm saying. Is you only cast the sorceries. You hang on to your instance. The second you go into your combat, the beginning of combat, you then throw all your instants onto the stack. You're going to get copies for all the sorceries you cast that turn, and then you'll have a bunch of stuff doubling those triggers on when you target Zada. So you're going to get all those tokens. Doesn't matter what the tokens are. It's if you have a bomb, then it's amazing. It's hard to explain, but trust me, as someone who plays Zada, this is actually a really good card for that deck.
But I don't know why. Too. I feel like that could. I don't know. Maybe I'm not reading that right, but I feel like at the beginning of your combat, you've gone to your combat phase. If you're still, but when that's happening, you can still like cast instants and sorceries. But I get confused with these commas and semicolons. I'm just wondering if the token that's going to be created will still be created with the number X plus with all your instants.
It won't be with all the instants.
So no. I don't see why you wouldn't cast your instants before combat then.
Jake, the whole point of this is you're making an insane amount of tokens. That's the whole point. Whether you're casting everything before or after combat, doesn't matter. The idea is that you're going to be drawing an insane amount of cards because you're targeting Zada. The idea is even if you're casting these during your second main phase, like say you hold on to half, and then you, for your second main, you cast it again.
But we're talking about working with the Fire Dancer here. So if you're working with the Fire Dancer, why wouldn't you just play them all before combat? Because then you're getting that many more tokens that are copies of another creature.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So yes. Yes. So I'll have to show you how this works. There are a bunch of pump spells in Zada decks. There are a bunch of draw cards in Zada decks, and it'll copy across all those tokens. I'll explain this to you in person. I think we've gone way too long on this card. It's a good card for a Zada deck. It's a good card as its own commander. It's a lot of fun.
All right. So
just trust me, I will show you how
the
it works.
moral of the story is kill Zada.
Kill Zada. Yes, that's always the don't let me untap with Zada. That is what a lot of people say. Let's go on to the next one. Well, I chose this. Her name is Veyran, Voice of Duality. When she has Magecraft, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Veyran, Voice of Duality gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. If you are casting or copying an instant or sorcery spell, causes a triggered ability or of a permanent you control. God, I'm not reading right now. A permanent you control, to trigger that ability triggers an additional time. She's going to trigger herself.
Yeah, so you copy, she's at least a 4/4.
Yeah, you do 1 cantrip, she's a 4/4. You do 2 cantrips, she's a 6/6. So this kind of spins really out of control quickly, and this is going to be ridiculous in a wizard deck. I am comparing her to Adeliz the Cinderwind, and of course you're going to run them in the same decks with each other because they're going to be disgusting. Adeliz is going to give everything +2/+2. Veyran is going to get +2/+2. And then you have something like, oh, I don't know, Crash Through. Give everything trample, and then you draw a card. Yeah, this is going to be nuts. You're going to draw an insane amount of cards. You're going to pump everything ridiculously high. It's a wizard prowess on a commander. It's a Panharmonicon for wizards, dude. That's what this is.
It totally is. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. So Panharmonicon, fun card. And maybe you put Panharmonicon in there too.
Why not?
Yeah.
So this was my number 1 pick because what Jake gave me for number 1, I liked the card, and then I read it a couple times, and then I kind of liked it better than my own card. So I had to give Jake the number 1 spot because this card is a little ridiculous. I mean, don't get me wrong, Veyran is ridiculous, but Essex Fractal Bloom is a little more disgusting.
Not only is the art sick, flying, the first time you create 1 or more tokens during each of your turns, you may instead choose a creature other than Essex Fractal Bloom and create that many tokens that are copies of that creature. And my God, can this card be broken?
This is so I'm noticing WotC's basically printing a lot of whenever something enters the battlefield, it comes in as something else. The first thing that came to mind was Mystic Reflection. Mystic Reflection.
I've had that card in the Coma deck for a while, even though in our group I've never been able to play it. And I love Mystic Reflection because whatever commander comes in as plant, or whatever bullshit token I have on the field.
It's going to be a Coma Coil. It's going to be it's going to be a 1/1 soldier.
Yeah, 0/1 plant, and it goes well with the next card.
Yeah, this is living the dream.
Yeah, so with Avenger, that's just, my God. So you get
7.
So you at least have 7. So you get 7 cards.
So let's wait. Let me do the math on this. On a bad day, let's say you ramp into Avenger of Zendikar on turn 6, and you only have 6 lands. No, but let's give you your due. Let's say you're playing Fair Magic. I'm gonna do the math for you right now. Avenger of Zendikar comes in. You have 7 lands. Those 7 tokens are going to come in as copies of Avenger of Zendikar, which are each going to create 7 tokens. You are going to have 49 plant tokens.
Plus the original, right? So it's going to be 8.
Yes. But you're going to have 49 plant tokens when this hits. I play a Phylath deck.
49 is 7 times 7.
Yeah.
So you would have 8. So it's going to be
But you're gonna have 8 Avengers of Zendikar.
It's going to be
Yeah, you're
56
gonna have
tokens. And you know what card I just saw the other day? Simic Ascendancy, which is like if you you could put a +1/+1 counter on stuff, and if you have
and you win. Yes.
if you have 20, you win.
the
So
game.
let's say you play this with S6, and then you have that out, and you drop a land. That's GG's.
Yeah, that's it. You just win the game. You put 8 +1 counters on 49 plant tokens. I think you're going to end the game like that.
56.
You are going to have, let me just do the math for you really quick. You're going to have 8 times 49. You're going to have 392 power on board when you drop 1 land.
Wrath of God. Or that first white card we're talking about, whatever that white card was.
So yes, so I've done this once, Jake. I have done this once where I've gone over the 300 threshold. It was with my Phylath deck. My Phylath deck is a worse version of Avengers Zendikar doing this little combat trick with Essex, or this little enter the battlefield trigger with Essex. I was able to hit, I believe the number was 282 power on board with my Phylath deck, which was quite disturbing. This is an order of magnitude, literally 110 more +1 counters and damage more than what I've done with my best run on a Phylath. This is ridiculous. This can happen very easily with your worldly tutors and your whatnots that are just, I mean, you will have this to the top of your deck if you tutor it. And if you have Essex out, this is quite disturbing. Jake, this was fun. Tell the people where they can find you.
What happened?
Tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, where can I find me? I can find me on YouTube. I think it's YouTube/Jake Dill. If not, just search Jake Dill. I got my stand-up specials there. On Twitter, I am at Jake Dill Tweets. On Instagram, I'm at Jake Dill because I got on Instagram early.
We'll have all the plugs in the notes below. You've been watching 8Zach. I'm Zach. This is Jake, and I hope you enjoyed the video.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
We'll see you next time.